He said we just needed space, time to cool off, and everyone agreed the problem was me. And there I was, wearing headphones in our Chicago living room at 2 in the morning, listening to him on live stream teaching strangers exactly how to get rid of me. My name is Ava Miller. I've lived in Chicago for 8 years, same as our relationship. To him, I was just the girlfriend he'd already let drag on far too long. He said he didn't want to hurt me, and the chat called him considerate. Even the streamer was helping him come up with softer, cleaner breakup lines to use. Nobody knew. The woman he called his A-tier girlfriend was sitting there hearing every word. The first scene came in our kitchen, early morning, with coffee brewing and eggs crackling. I was wearing an old t-shirt, making him breakfast before he left for work. He only said, "I'm late," and walked past me without even looking up. I stood there holding the spatula, feeling less like a partner than temporary help. The second scene happened at Target, under fluorescent lights, in front of a clearance rack. I kept trying on the same discounted coat, turning side to side, asking nothing. He told me, "Don't overthink it." Like wanting one small thing made me unreasonable. Then the very next day, I saw him on Instagram buying another girl an entire wardrobe. The third scene was at the hospital, in Northwestern's freezing hallway. After his father's diagnosis, I stayed with him overnight, signed papers, handled insurance, and covered the remaining balance myself. He held me close and whispered, "I owe you everything," and I believed him. After that, I stopped buying perfume, stopped shopping, and learned to stretch every dollar. I taught myself to cook better, to budget harder, to send whatever extra money remained. Little by little, his life became easier, lighter, smoother, and more stable. And little by little, I became invisible inside the life I had helped build. At a company happy hour in a River North bar, I sat alone. Everyone crowded around him and the new intern, laughing like they were the only two there. "She's so fun," someone said. "She brings energy," another added, smiling right at her. No one introduced me. No one asked who I was. No one needed to. I was just the extra person he had brought, the old version still hanging around. Eventually, even his coworkers treated me like I had already been phased out. People kept saying 8 years was too long, that men needed fresh air sometimes. Not one of them stopped to wonder whether maybe the problem was him. Then came the sentence that finally snapped something clean and permanent inside me. On the live stream, he laughed and said, "She's like stagnant water." I froze. In that instant, everything became brutally clear in the ugliest possible way. I wasn't lacking. I wasn't failing. I had simply been drained empty by him. I turned off the stream and didn't cry. I just went completely still. The next morning, I drove downtown to his office in the Loop. The building was all glass and steel, too polished for what I already knew. I waited downstairs and watched him walk out beside her. Around noon, she was smiling, relaxed, with one hand looped casually through his arm. He leaned down to talk to her with that soft, attentive expression. I had seen that look before. 8 years earlier, he used to look at me that way. I didn't run toward them. I just stood there and waited for her face. When she finally turned, I recognized her immediately. Her name was Lily. 2 years earlier, she had still been in college and struggling to pay tuition. Through his sister, I helped cover one of her semesters when she couldn't afford it. She sent me a long email afterward saying, "I won't forget this." At the time, I believed her. I believed both of them, actually. At lunchtime, I walked into his office carrying 8 iced Americanos in a cardboard tray. The lobby was bright, crowded, and full of people already laughing around them. I walked straight up, lifted the first cup, and poured it over his head. Ice water ran down his suit as I said, "This one is for cheating." The whole lobby went silent so fast it felt like the air disappeared. Then I poured the second one over her hair and shoulders without hesitation. "This one is for betrayal," I said, and people immediately started raising their phones. I looked at him, lifted the third cup, and poured again without blinking. "This one is for calling me a burden," I said, loud enough for everyone. That was when he finally snapped and shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" Then he raised his hand and slapped me across the face in front of everyone. The sound cracked through the lobby. Someone gasped. Someone else cursed under their breath. My head turned with the force of it, and blood slid down from my forehead. I smiled anyway and said, "Good," because that made the next part easier. I pulled out my phone and hit play on the recording. His voice filled the lobby. "I'm already living with my new." The whole place erupted. Someone asked, "Is that really him?" while others backed away. Then came the line that cut through him cleaner than anything I could have said. "She's like stagnant water." Hearing it out loud made his face lose all color. Lily stood beside him like she'd forgotten how to move or breathe. He tried to say, "That's not," but I cut him off immediately. "You said it," I told him, and nobody stepped in to defend him. The same people who had been laughing a minute earlier were suddenly just spectators. I stood there in the center of it all and realized something for the first time. I wasn't background noise. I wasn't an accessory. I was finally the one seen. I put my phone away, said nothing else, and walked out on my own. That night, he asked to meet me at a coffee shop in West Loop. He was waiting with roses in his hand, acting like none of it had happened. He said, "I made a mistake," and people nearby actually started encouraging him. "Give him a chance," someone said, like I was the unreasonable one again. I picked up the water on the table and dumped it over his head. "Stay clear," I said, and this time he didn't argue or move. I looked straight at him and said, "You didn't lose me. You replaced me." I said, "Now live with what you chose." Then I sat down, opened my phone, and pulled up every expense I'd covered, 8 years of money, every transfer, every payment, every dollar accounted for. He didn't say another word. 5 minutes later, the transfer came through. I stood up, left the cafe, and never looked back again. A month later, I moved back to Boston and started over from scratch. New job, new apartment, new routines, a life that finally belonged to me again. Sometimes people ask me whether I still hate him after everything that happened. I always think about it for a long time before answering them honestly. I don't hate him. I just finally understand what really happened to me when everyone believed his version of the story. I almost believed it too. I almost forgot that I was the one being erased the whole time. Now I'm the one writing myself back in.